I still remember the smell before I even saw what was happening. That sharp, sour stench that didn't belong in a living room. It was a Sunday afternoon. My daughter, Lily, was sitting on the floor with her crayons, her curls bouncing every time she laughed. She was 7, small, gentle, too soft for a world like ours. I'd brought her to my parents' house because they'd insisted. Family lunch, my mom said. You can't avoid your sister forever. I should have known better. Samantha, my older sister, was already sitting on the couch when I got there. She had that perfect smile she wore like armor, her legs crossed, nails shining. Well, well, she said, looking Lily up and down. The little princess graces us with her presence. Lily smiled shyly. Hi, Aunt Sam. Samantha tilted her head. Not Queen Sam? I told you last time. That's what my little subjects call me. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. Mom laughed from the kitchen. Oh, don't start that again, Sam. But Samantha wasn't joking. She never was. Come on, Lily, she said sweetly. Say it, Queen Sam. Lily frowned, clutching her crayon tighter. You're not a queen. The room went quiet for a beat. Dad looked up from his newspaper. Mom's lips twitched like she was holding in a smile. Samantha's eyes darkened. What did you say? Lily's voice was small but steady. You're not a queen. Samantha stood, slow and deliberate. Kids these days, she said under her breath, walking toward the baby-changing station by the corner. No respect. I watched her, my pulse picking up. Sam, don't... She ignored me. She grabbed one of the baby's used diapers, my cousin's newborn had just been there, and held it up between 2 fingers like it was proof of power. Since you don't know how to show respect, maybe this will teach you humility. Sam, stop it, I said, stepping forward. But before I could reach her, she crouched down beside Lily, smiling that perfect, fake smile. Hold this, sweetheart, she said sweetly, over your face and say, Long live Queen Sam. Then I'll forgive you. Lily looked terrified. She shook her head, eyes filling with tears. Mom chuckled from the kitchen. Oh, Sam, don't be so dramatic. It's just a joke. Dad muttered. The girl should learn manners anyway. It didn't feel like a joke, not with the way Samantha was staring. When Lily didn't move, Samantha's tone turned sharp. Fine, I'll help you. She grabbed Lily's wrist, not hard but firm enough that my daughter whimpered, and pushed the diaper closer. That's when I stepped in. I yanked her hand away so fast the diaper hit the floor. What's wrong with you? I shouted. Samantha stood up, smiling calmly, brushing her hand off. Relax, it's just trash. Fitting for her. Attitude. Lily was crying now, small hands over her face. Mommy, I didn't do anything. I crouched beside her, holding her close, trying not to shake. I know, baby, I know. See what you've done? Mom snapped, stepping out of the kitchen. Every time you come here, you cause drama. Sam was playing, and you make it into a scene. Playing? I glared at her. You just watched your daughter humiliate my child. Mom crossed her arms. She needs to learn not to be so sensitive. You always raise her like she's fragile. Samantha grinned. Maybe she just takes after her mother, always crying when things don't go her way. I wanted to scream, to break something, to drag Lily out and never look back. But my parents stood there like walls, cold, unmoving, smiling like this was entertainment. Apologize to your aunt, Dad said, not looking up from his paper. Lily sniffled. I didn't do anything wrong. His voice hardened. Do it. My stomach dropped. No, I said. She's not apologizing for being disrespected. Dad lowered his paper and looked straight at me. Then both of you can leave. And don't expect to be welcomed back until you learn how to behave. Samantha picked up the diaper with a tissue, laughing softly. Guess the trash takes itself out. I felt my daughter flinch against me. That was the moment something inside me broke. Not loud, not angry, just final. I stood up, holding Lily's hand. Come on, sweetheart. Mom scoffed. There she goes again, always the victim. We walked out without another word. Lily was still trembling. Halfway down the street, she looked up at me with red, wet eyes and whispered, Mommy, why do they hate us? I couldn't answer. Because how do you explain to a child that family can rot from the inside while still pretending to smile? That night, I sat by her bed, watching her sleep. She clutched her teddy bear like it was armor. Every breath she took was a reminder of how close they'd come to breaking her spirit, the same way they once broke mine. I stared at the moonlight sliding across the carpet and made myself a silent promise. They wanted a queen? Fine. I'd give them one. But not the kind that wore crowns, the kind that burned kingdoms quietly. Because if they thought that diaper was humiliation, they hadn't seen what I could do with truth. And from that night forward, every memory of their laughter turned into fuel. I wasn't going to shout or fight anymore. I was going to build something they couldn't destroy and make them watch from behind their crumbling walls. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lily's little hands shaking, the way she whispered, "You're not a queen," so innocently, and how they all laughed at her tears. By morning, the anger had gone quiet inside me, the kind of quiet that isn't peace, but precision. I made Lily pancakes shaped like hearts, even though she barely touched them. She kept asking, "Are we going back to Grandma's?" And I just said, "Not for a while." She nodded as if that was all she needed to hear. But I knew it wasn't enough. I went to work that day pretending everything was fine. The customers came and went, bills got paid, life moved like it always did. But my mind replayed every smirk, every insult, every look of mock pity my sister gave me over the years. This wasn't new. It was just the first time she'd turned it on my daughter. After my shift, I stopped at the small flower shop across the street. The woman there, Mrs. Hale, smiled kindly. "You look like someone who's finally done pretending." I didn't know how she saw that. Maybe some people can just tell when the pretending stops. At home, I sat down with a notepad and started writing. Not a letter, not a plan, just every single thing they'd ever done. The time my mom laughed when I was called names at school. The day my dad told me I'd never be wife material. The night Samantha locked me outside during a thunderstorm because I needed to learn respect. I wrote until my hand ached. And as I wrote, I realized something that both hurt and healed at the same time. None of it surprised me anymore. I had stopped expecting them to love me long ago. What hurt now was that I'd let them near my daughter, believing maybe they'd changed. The next weekend, Samantha called. Her voice was syrupy. "You're still upset about last time? God, you're dramatic. Tell the brat to lighten up. It was a joke." I hung up mid-sentence. Minutes later, Mom called. "How dare you hang up on your sister?" "Because she humiliated my child," I said calmly. "She needs thicker skin," Mom snapped. "You used to be soft too until life taught you." "Life didn't teach me," I said, my voice low. "You did." The silence on the line lasted long enough for me to hear her exhale sharply. Then she muttered, "Ungrateful," and hung up. That word, ungrateful, had been their weapon my entire life. Anytime I asked for decency, I was ungrateful. Anytime I defended myself, I was ungrateful. And now they were using it on my daughter, too. I realized right then, if I didn't stop this, they'd keep teaching her that cruelty was normal, that humiliation was love. So I stopped answering their calls. Weeks turned into a month. They sent messages, guilt-laced and fake sweet. "We miss you. Lily must be growing so fast." "Family should stick together, you know." Then one day, Mom texted, "Your sister's engagement party is next week. Don't embarrass us by not showing up." That was it. That was the moment everything shifted. I looked at that message and felt something sharp rise in my chest. Not anger, not pain, but clarity. They thought I'd show up small, quiet, still begging for space at their table. They thought I'd endure for the sake of family. But this time, I wasn't coming to fit in. I was coming to end something that had poisoned generations of us. That night, I pulled out the notebook I'd filled, pages and pages of truth, and added one more line at the end. "I will never let my daughter think cruelty is royalty." Then I started preparing, quietly, patiently. No screaming, no revenge like theirs, just something far more powerful. The truth, spoken out loud in the one room they never expected to lose control of. Because this time, when I faced them, it wouldn't be as the weak daughter they mocked. It would be as the mother who'd learned that silence can destroy more than any scream ever could. The day of Samantha's engagement party came bright and loud, the kind of day that felt staged, like everything was polished just for photos. The house looked the same as always, trimmed hedges, gold balloons spelling forever, and that same front door I'd once walked through crying. I dressed Lily in a simple blue dress. She held my hand the whole ride there. "Do we have to go, Mom?" she whispered. "Yes," I said softly, "but this time we won't be staying long." When we walked in, every head turned. Mom's eyes narrowed first. "You actually came?" she said, voice tight with forced politeness. "Try to behave for once, all right?" Samantha swept over in her glittering gown, champagne glass in hand. "Oh, look who finally decided to crawl out of her cave," she said. "Don't touch anything expensive, Lily." Lily hid behind me. I smiled calmly. "Don't worry, we're not staying long enough to dirty your palace." That earned me a few murmurs from the guests. Mom hissed quietly, "Don't you dare make a scene!" I turned to her and said, "A scene would mean pretending everything's fine. I'm done with that." Samantha scoffed. "You always ruin everything with your dramatics. Can't you just be happy for me?" I looked straight at her. "Happy for you? After what you did to my daughter?" Her perfect smile faltered. "Oh God, that again? It was a joke." I took a deep breath and let my voice drop just enough for everyone nearby to hear. "A joke? You made a 7-year-old hold filth over her face because she wouldn't call you queen. You humiliated a child, your own niece, while everyone in this family laughed." The room went quiet. Champagne flutes stopped midair. Dad cleared his throat. "Don't exaggerate." "No," I said firmly. "Let's not lie for her. You were all there. You watched and did nothing. You taught me what silence does to a person, and I'm not teaching my daughter that same lesson." Mom's lips trembled, her voice small for the first time. "Why are you bringing this up here?" "Because this is where you taught us that appearances matter more than truth," I said. "And I want everyone to see what your kind of family looks like when the mask falls off." Samantha's fiancé shifted uncomfortably. "Sam, is that true?" She forced a laugh. "Oh, come on, it's—" But her voice cracked. Her eyes darted around the room, people whispering, staring. The control she'd always had was slipping through her fingers, and she knew it. I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I just reached for Lily's hand and said quietly, "Let's go, sweetheart." As we turned to leave, Mom called out, "You'll regret this." I looked over my shoulder and said, "No, Mom, you will. Every time she looks at that child and remembers what you let happen." We walked out into the cool evening air. I could still hear murmurs behind us, fragments of disbelief, shame, confusion. But I didn't care. For once, the noise wasn't mine to carry. At home, Lily curled up beside me on the couch. "Did they get mad?" she asked. "Maybe," I said. "But we told the truth. That's what brave people do." She thought for a moment, then smiled a little. "You're brave." I brushed her hair back gently. "So are you, baby, more than you know." Weeks later, I heard the engagement was postponed. People said Samantha had a lot to work on. My parents didn't call again. The silence was heavy, but peaceful. One night, Lily drew a picture at the kitchen table. It was the two of us holding hands, a crown floating above our heads. She wrote in uneven letters, "My mom is the only queen." I couldn't stop the tears that came then. Not from sadness, but from something cleaner, lighter. Because in the end, revenge didn't look like destruction. It looked like freedom. And every time I watched my daughter smile without fear, I knew that the kingdom my sister once mocked me for not having was finally mine.